Have you ever wondered why certain truths have been buried, hidden from your eyes, erased by those in power? What if I told you that one of the most sacred texts, the Book of Jubilees, was deliberately erased, not because it was false, but because it was too true? What if this truth could change everything you thought you knew about your identity, your history, and the very foundation of your faith? For centuries, the Book of Jubilees has been silenced, cast aside as apocryphal, because it dared to expose the most profound secrets hidden behind the walls of empire and religion. The truth about who the real Israelites are, the truth about the Black Israelites and their connection to the covenant with the Most High, a truth that has been suppressed, ignored, and replaced by convenient narratives that serve the empire's interests. But now, the time has come for this ancient knowledge to rise again. In this video, you will uncover the hidden history that the church didn't want you to know. You will discover the real reason why the Book of Jubilees was banned, because it doesn't fit the narrative of empire. We'll explore how this ancient text ties the scattered tribes of Israel, the oppressed descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, back to their true identity, rooted in the promises of the Most High. This is not just a story of the past, but a prophetic awakening for the present and future. By the end of this video, you will understand why these hidden truths are the key to reclaiming your heritage, your faith, and your power. You'll know why the Book of Jubilees is a direct challenge to the distorted history we've been taught. And you'll be ready to join in the great restoration that's unfolding right now as the lost tribes of Israel awaken to their rightful place in history. So keep watching. The truth is here, and it's calling you back home. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think has been hidden from us for so long? Hit that like button, subscribe, and join us on this powerful journey of rediscovery. The Book of Jubilees, and why it was erased. It's a bitter truth to swallow, yet one we must face head-on. There are truths about our history, our identity, and our divine purpose that have been hidden from us for far too long. One of these truths lies within the pages of the Book of Jubilees, a sacred text that has been intentionally erased from the historical narrative, not because it was false, but because it carried a power that the empire, the forces of control, could not afford to let survive. The Book of Jubilees once stood as a beacon of truth for the people of God. It was cherished by the early Hebrews and even preserved by Ethiopian Christians, yet, as history unfolded, the powers of the world sought to bury it, to silence its message. Why? Because it did not serve their agenda. It was too specific, too direct, and it painted a picture of God's covenant with his people that was too powerful for the powers of the world to tolerate. In this divine book, God's covenant was not with a faceless church, nor with a government or empire. It was with a specific people, the descendants of Shem, the children of Jacob, the scattered tribes of Israel. These were the people who would suffer captivity, not just in Babylon, but across the seas, sold into slavery, scattered across the world, and hidden in plain sight. For them, the Book of Jubilees stood as a reminder of their identity and their divine promise. It was a text that spoke of their suffering, their exile, and most importantly, their eventual return. The empire, particularly Rome, understood the power of this book. For the empire to rule, it needed a controlled, sanitized version of history. It needed to remove the power of remembrance from the oppressed. The Book of Jubilees refused to let this happen. It was too bold, too raw, and too true. It spoke directly to the scattered Israelites, reminding them of their covenant with God, their history, and their future restoration. This was a truth the empire could not allow to be known, for if the oppressed understood their true heritage, they would rise up and claim their rightful place in God's plan. This is why the Book of Jubilees was cast aside, labeled as apocryphal or unnecessary. The empire buried it because it was too exact, too detailed, and too connected to the African heritage of the Israelites. It carried the truth that the powers of the world wanted to erase. They could not control a people who knew who they were, who understood the depths of their covenant with the Most High. And so, the book was hidden away, forgotten by most, but never lost. For centuries, we have been told a version of history that ignores the African roots of the Israelites, the deep connection between the chosen people and the lands of Africa. But now, as the Book of Jubilees resurfaces, the truth begins to shine once more. The empire's efforts to erase this history were not successful. The Most High's truth cannot be buried forever. And as the scattered tribes begin to awaken, the power of the Book of Jubilees is revealed once again, reminding us of who we are and where we come from. The lesson here is clear. The powers of the world fear the truth. They fear the people of God coming into the full knowledge of their identity, their purpose, and their divine destiny. They know that when a people understands their true covenant with the Most High, nothing can stop them. We must reclaim the truths that have been hidden from us and walk in the power that was always meant to be ours. The Book of Jubilees is not just a history book. It is a divine proclamation of our identity, our purpose, and our future. As we rediscover this book, we are reminded of the importance of remembering who we are. The Most High has never forgotten us, even when the world tried to erase our history. The time of awakening is now, and the Book of Jubilees is the key to unlocking the divine plan that has always been in motion. The Most High has called his people to remember, to return, and to rise up in power. It is time to reclaim what was always ours, and to walk in the fullness of the promise that has been waiting for us all along. Rome and the manipulation of Christianity. The Book of Jubilees is not just a historical text. It is a direct challenge to the manipulation of faith by empires, particularly the Roman Empire. When Rome took control of Christianity, it didn't simply adopt the faith. It reshaped it, redefined it, and made it serve the interests of imperial power. What began as a message of liberation, of deliverance from bondage, was twisted into a tool of domination. Under Constantine and subsequent Roman emperors, the cross was no longer a symbol of sacrifice and freedom. It became a banner of imperial control. Christianity, once a faith of the oppressed, became a religion of the empire. And in order to solidify their control, the Roman authorities knew that they had to sanitize the gospel, removing elements that did not serve their interests, including the truth about the covenant with Israel, and especially the Book of Jubilees. The Book of Jubilees was a text that did not bend to Roman authority. It did not serve the empire's need for control or its desire for power. It spoke plainly about the covenant between the Most High and the people of Israel, a covenant that could not be molded to fit the empire's political goals. The book was filled with genealogies, divine laws, and prophetic utterances that spoke of a scattered people suffering in exile, but destined for restoration. This was a message that contradicted the empire's narrative, which sought to paint a picture of a universal church, a faith that transcended specific people or nations. Rome wanted a Christianity that was convenient, a faith that could be used to control the masses, a religion that could serve the emperor's needs. But the Book of Jubilees reminded the world that the covenant was not about empires, institutions, or political power. It was about a people, the descendants of Jacob, who had been chosen by God for a divine purpose. The empire could not tolerate this truth, so it buried the book, along with the identity of the people it spoke of. This manipulation of Christianity by Rome was not just a matter of politics, it was a matter of faith. The empire knew that if people truly understood the Book of Jubilees, They would see the truth about God's covenant and the divine plan for Israel. They would see that their suffering was not without purpose, that their exile was not a sign of abandonment, but a part of God's greater plan. They would understand that they were not lost, but hidden, waiting for the time when they would return to their rightful place. The empire's efforts to suppress the true message of Christianity did not stop with the Book of Jubilees. They continued to reshape the faith in ways that would serve their power. They changed the holy calendar, replacing the Sabbath with Sunday, and replaced the feasts of Israel with pagan celebrations like Christmas and Easter. These changes were not made for theological reasons. They were made to consolidate power and control over the people. But despite the empire's efforts, the truth could not be erased. The Book of Jubilees was not just buried, it was preserved, hidden in places like Ethiopia and sealed in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And now, as the world awakens to the truth of this sacred text, we begin to see the full picture of the covenant. A covenant that was not with a universal church or an empire, but with a specific people. A people who were chosen by God to carry His name, to keep His laws, and to be a light to the nations. This lesson is one that we must carry forward. The manipulation of faith by those in power is not a new phenomenon. It is as old as the empire itself. And the Book of Jubilees stands as a testament to the power of truth, a truth that cannot be silenced, no matter how hard the empire tries. It is time for us to remember who we are, to reclaim our identity, and to walk in the fullness of the promises that God has given us. The Most High has called us to rise up and reclaim what was always meant to be ours. We must no longer allow the forces of empire to define us. We are the children of the covenant, and the time for our return is now. The truth about Black Israelites and their hidden history. For centuries, the story of the Israelites, and more specifically the Black Israelites, has been distorted, hidden, or completely erased from the annals of history. The world has painted a picture of a whitewashed faith where the Israelites are depicted as pale-skinned figures, their true identity obscured. But if we return to the Book of Jubilees and to the ancient scriptures, we find the truth. This truth does not align with the narrative we've been taught. The Book of Jubilees speaks of a covenant between God and a specific people, the descendants of Shem, the children of Jacob. The Israelites were a people who would be scattered across the earth, exiled, and subjected to unimaginable suffering. But this scattering was not without purpose. It was part of God's divine plan, one that would lead to the ultimate restoration of His people. The descendants of Israel would not remain lost forever. They would awaken to their true identity, rise, and fulfill the divine purpose that was written for them from the beginning of time. This awakening is happening now. The Black Israelites, who have suffered through slavery, colonization, and erasure, are beginning to remember who they are. They are the descendants of the chosen people, scattered not by accident, but by divine design. And now, as the Book of Jubilees resurfaces, and as the truth about their identity is revealed, they are reclaiming their place in history. The powers of the world knew that the Israelites' true identity was dangerous. If the oppressed ever realized who they would rise up and take their rightful place in the divine story. That is why the truth has been hidden for so long. The empire feared a people who knew their true heritage. They feared a people who understood their covenant with the Most High. The story of the Black Israelites is one of resilience, of enduring suffering, but also one of ultimate triumph. The Book of Jubilees is a powerful reminder of this divine covenant, a covenant that cannot be erased, no matter how much the empire tries. The awakening of the Black Israelites is not just about remembering the past, it is about reclaiming the future. It is about understanding that the suffering endured by their ancestors was not in vain, but was part of a divine plan that would lead to restoration. The time of awakening is now, The scattered tribes of Israel are rising, and they are reclaiming their place as the children of the Most High. The Book of Jubilees stands as a testament to this truth. It is a divine declaration that the lost tribes of Israel are not lost, they are merely hidden, waiting for the moment of restoration. The lesson here is profound. The power of identity is transformative. When we know who we are, when we remember our true heritage, we step into our divine purpose. The Black Israelites have been scattered, forgotten, and oppressed, but now they are awakening to the truth of who they are. They are the chosen people, the heirs to a divine covenant, and their time to rise has come. The world has tried to silence them, but the Book of Jubilees has not been forgotten. It is now rising, along with the people it speaks of. And as the truth about the Black Israelites is revealed, the world will be forced to reckon with the power of this divine awakening. The Book of Jubilees and the prophetic awakening. The Book of Jubilees is not just an ancient text. It is a prophetic book, a living witness to the truth of God's plan for his people. It speaks of the time when the scattered tribes of Israel would return to their true identity and fulfill the divine promises made to their ancestors. This is not just a history lesson, it is a prophecy unfolding before our eyes. The Book of Jubilees tells us of a people who would be exiled, who would suffer, and who would be hidden by the powers of the world. But it also tells us of a time when this people would awaken to their true identity, reclaim their place in the divine story, and be restored to the fullness of God's covenant. This prophetic awakening is happening right now. The time of the return is at hand, and the Book of Jubilees is a key to understanding this divine restoration. The scattered tribes of Israel, once lost and forgotten, are now awakening to their true identity. They are realizing that they are the heirs to the divine promises, the children of the Most High. They are remembering their covenant with God, a covenant that was never broken, only hidden. As the Book of Jubilees reveals, the Most High never abandoned his people. The exile was not the end, but the beginning of a greater story, a story of restoration, of the return of the scattered tribes to their rightful place. This is a profound moment in history. The Book of Jubilees is not just a story of the past, it is a living prophecy of the future. It speaks of a time when the oppressed will be restored, when the broken will be healed, and when the scattered tribes of Israel will return to the Most High. This is not just a spiritual awakening, it is a global awakening, a return to the fullness of God's plan for his people. The lesson here is clear. We are all part of a larger story. The Book of Jubilees shows us that the suffering of the past is not in vain. It is part of God's divine plan. The scattered tribes of Israel, including the Black Israelites, are awakening to their true identity. They are returning to the Most High, reclaiming their place in the divine covenant, and fulfilling their purpose in God's plan. The Book of Jubilees is the key to understanding this prophetic awakening. It reveals the truth about the divine covenant, about the people who are chosen, and about the restoration that is happening right now. This is not just a book of ancient history, it is a book for our time, a book that speaks to the world today. The return of the scattered tribes of Israel is happening now, and the Book of Jubilees is the guide to this divine restoration. As we read the Book of Jubilees, we are reminded that we are not forgotten. The Most High has never abandoned us. We are his chosen people, and the time for our return is now. The Book of Jubilees is the living testament to this truth, and as we awaken to our true identity, we walk in the fullness of the promises made to our ancestors. The prophetic awakening is here, and we are part of it. The scattered tribes are returning, and we are witnessing the fulfillment of the divine plan. This is not just history. This is prophecy unfolding before our eyes. The Ethiopian Bible and its preservation of truth. In the heart of Africa, nestled in the highlands of Ethiopia, a sacred truth has been preserved for centuries, untouched by the hands of empire. The Ethiopian Bible, a collection of 88 books, stands as a living testament to the divine preservation of what the world sought to erase. This Bible, richer and fuller than the 66-book canon embraced by Western Christianity, carries the forgotten stories, the lost prophecies, and the divine truths that have been hidden from the world. And within it lies the Book of Jubilees, the very text that the empire could not afford to let survive. While the rest of the world adhered to the stripped-down version of the Bible, the Ethiopian church held on to the fullness of the sacred texts. The Ethiopian Bible did not bow to the whims of imperial rulers or the political agendas that sought to shape Christianity to fit the needs of the empire. It remained faithful to the original scriptures, keeping the Book of Jubilees and other essential texts that the Roman Empire could not tolerate. This Bible is not just a religious text, it is a treasure trove of divine truth, a key to understanding the full narrative of God's people, and a beacon of light for those who have been lost in the darkness of historical erasure. The empire knew that the Book of Jubilees contained truths that could not be allowed to spread. It spoke of the covenant with Israel, of the people's divine calling, and of the prophetic awakening that would one day lead to the restoration of the lost tribes. It was a text that refused to sanitize history, that refused to erase the Black Israelites and their connection to the covenant. And so, when the empire sought to rewrite the history of Christianity, it did so by excluding these texts, burying them in the depths of obscurity. But the Ethiopian church preserved them. The Ethiopian people held on to the sacred scriptures, passing them down through generations, protecting them from the forces that sought to destroy them. The Book of Jubilees was not just a historical record, it was a living witness to the truth of God's plan, a divine declaration that his covenant with the Israelites was eternal, unbreakable, and specific. The Ethiopians understood that this truth was not just for the past, but for the present and the future. They knew that the restoration of the lost tribes of Israel would one day come, and the Book of Jubilees would be a key to unlocking that divine destiny. In the pages of the Ethiopian Bible, we find the truth about the Black Israelites, those who were scattered, oppressed, and forgotten by the world. The Ethiopian Bible does not shy away from these truths. It speaks boldly of the covenant with Israel, tracing the bloodlines of the chosen people and reminding them of their divine purpose. It speaks to the descendants of the slaves who crossed the Atlantic, those who were sold into bondage and stripped of their names and heritage. The Book of Jubilees speaks of their exile, their suffering, and their eventual return to the Most High. This truth is not just about the past, it is about the present and the future. The Ethiopian Bible is not a relic of ancient history. It is a living document, a prophecy that is being fulfilled today. The scattered tribes of Israel are waking up, remembering who they are, and reclaiming their place in the divine plan. The Book of Jubilees is the key to understanding this awakening. It is the roadmap to the return of the lost tribes, to the restoration of the covenant, and to the fulfillment of the divine promise. As we read the Book of Jubilees and the Ethiopian Bible, we are reminded of the power of preservation. The Ethiopian church did not allow the forces of empire to erase the truth. They held fast to the sacred scriptures, protecting them from the hands of those who sought to rewrite history. In doing so, they ensured that the divine truth would one day be revealed, and that the lost tribes of Israel would be restored to their rightful place in the divine narrative. The lesson here is profound. The power of preservation is a divine act. It is through the faithful preservation of the truth that the lost are found, the scattered are gathered, and the promises of God are fulfilled. The Ethiopian Bible is not just a collection of ancient texts. It is a living witness to the power of divine truth, a truth that cannot be erased, a truth that will always find its way back into the light. The Book of Jubilees and the Ethiopian Bible are the keys to understanding the full story of God's people. They speak of a people who were chosen, who were scattered, and who are now returning to their divine heritage. The Book of Jubilees holds the secret to understanding the divine plan for the restoration of the lost tribes, and the Ethiopian Bible carries that truth forward into the present day. As we embrace this truth, we are called to remember who we are, to reclaim our place in the divine covenant, and to rise up in the fullness of God's promise. This awakening is happening now. The scattered tribes of Israel are waking up, and the Book of Jubilees is the key to unlocking the divine plan that has been hidden for so long. The Ethiopian Bible stands as a testament to the faithfulness of God's people, a reminder that no matter how much the world tries to erase the truth, it will always find its way back into the light. And as we embrace this truth, we walk in the power of the Most High, ready to fulfill the divine destiny that has been waiting for us from the beginning of time. The Book of Jubilees and the Ethiopian Bible are not just relics of the past, they are the keys to the future. They hold the truth that will set God's people free, the truth that will restore the lost tribes, and the truth that will bring about the fulfillment of God's promises. As we read these sacred texts, we are reminded that we are not forgotten. We are the children of the covenant, the heirs to a divine promise, and the time for our return is now. Let us rise, reclaim our place, and walk in the fullness of God's divine plan. As we draw to the close of this journey through the Book of Jubilees and the powerful truths it reveals, I want to leave you with a thought that will linger in your heart. The Most High's covenant with his people, a covenant that was never broken but was hidden, is being restored. The scattered tribes of Israel are awakening, and as they rise, they carry with them a divine purpose, a purpose that has always been theirs, even through the darkest times of oppression and exile. For too long, the world tried to erase their story, to paint a version of history that fit the needs of empire, but God's truth cannot be silenced. And now, as the Book of Jubilees resurfaces and reveals the hidden history of the Black Israelites, we are reminded of our eternal connection to the Most High. This is not just history, it is prophecy unfolding, a divine plan that is coming to fruition right before our eyes. The restoration of the lost tribes, the return to the covenant, is happening now. But it's not just the story of the Israelites, it's the story of every single one of us who has felt lost, forgotten, or erased. It's a reminder that no matter how far we've strayed, no matter how broken or scattered we may feel, we are never forgotten by God. His promises are eternal, and his plan for our restoration is unfolding in this very moment. You see, the Book of Jubilees is more than just a historical record. It's a divine declaration that we are his chosen people, that we have a place in the divine narrative, and that we have a purpose to fulfill. The story of the Black Israelites is the story of every person who has ever felt oppressed, forgotten, or cast aside. It's the story of those who have been forced to carry the weight of suffering, but who will one day rise in glory, fulfilling the promises made by the Most High. This truth is not just for the past, it is for now and the future. It is a call to awaken, to remember who we are, to stand in the fullness of our divine heritage and purpose. The Book of Jubilees shows us that the time for the scattered tribes to return is now. The time for us to rise, to reclaim our identity, and to walk in the fullness of God's plan is upon us. This awakening is not a distant dream. It is a reality that is unfolding before our eyes. I know that for many, this message resonates deeply. Perhaps it's the first time you've heard this truth. Perhaps it's been hidden in your heart for years, and hearing it now is like a light breaking through the darkness. If this video has brought even a glimmer of light to your soul, if it has helped you find hope or clarity in these uncertain times, I invite you to join me in spreading this light to others. The truth that we've shared today is not just for us to keep, it's for the world to know. There are many who still walk in darkness, who still feel lost and disconnected from the Most High. But we, the awakened ones, have a responsibility to share this light, to help others see the truth that has been hidden for so long. If you found value in this video, if it has helped you feel more connected to your divine heritage, more aware of your purpose, I humbly ask you to support this channel, to give a little energy to help me continue sharing the Word of God. Your support, no matter how small, is a treasure to me. It fuels the work that I do and helps me continue creating content that speaks truth, healing, and restoration. Your comments, likes, and subscriptions mean the world to me, and they are a powerful reminder that we are not alone in this journey. If this message has stirred something deep within you, if you feel the truth of God's covenant calling you, please share this video with others. Leave a comment below. What part of this message resonates with you the most? Let's continue this conversation, share our experiences, and support one another as we walk in the light of divine truth. We are all part of this awakening, part of this divine plan. I thank you from the depths of my heart for being here, for receiving this message, and for supporting this mission. Together, we are awakening to the divine truth, to the promises that have always been ours, and to the restoration of the lost tribes of Israel. The Most High is calling His people back, and we are answering that call. Let's rise together, walk in the fullness of His love, and reclaim our divine heritage. Thank you for being a part of this journey. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. And together, we will fulfill the divine purpose that has been written for us from the beginning of time. May the Most High bless you, keep you, and guide you as you walk in His truth.